Ladies and gentlemen, the AU elections have been done, and that is now water under the bridge. I'm not even going to talk about the winner of the AU elections, as it were, because as we speak now, Mohammed Yusuf has been declared the winner of the AUC Chairperson's seat. And I believe, as any other person, congratulations are in order to Mohammed Yusuf Ali from Djibouti, inasmuch as a good number of us in Kenya did not like him or did not support him for that position, because we were of the contrary opinion that Raila Amollo Odinga was more competent and more qualified to hold the position of chairperson of the African Union Commission in comparison to Mohammed Yusuf from Djibouti. Having said that, it's also important to acknowledge that Mohammed Yusuf Ali from Djibouti had an equal number of supporters. I don't know whether they are admirers, but of supporters in Kenya, in his own country in Djibouti, in a number of African countries, especially the Muslim African countries and the Francophone African countries, and it worked in his favor. He won the elections and was declared the winner of the chairperson of the African Union Commission. Having said that, but before we continue, if you have not found time to subscribe to the channel, please consider doing so that together we continue growing the channel. Remember, it is our channel, your channel, not my channel. So that together we continue growing the channel to make it what we'd want it to be as we continue to serve the public. One thing caught my attention, ladies and gentlemen. In the entire process, I really failed to understand why Raila Amollo Odinga, at the sixth round of balloting, Raila Amollo Odinga withdrew from the race. Let it be very clear to the people that Raila Amollo Odinga was not just defeated for the sake of being defeated. Raila Amollo Odinga withdrew at the sixth round. There is this table that I'm sharing with you. And if you look at this table, you can clearly see the metrics and the intrigues that were working there. In the first round, clearly, Raila Odinga was ahead of the pack. In the second round, Raila Odinga was ahead of the pack. Things started taking a funny shape from the third round, the fourth round, the fifth round, the sixth round. That is where things started taking a funny shape. I've never understood why Raila Amollo Odinga, when it matters most, he sometimes withdraws. This we have witnessed, and I talk this as a very, very, very strong fan and supporter of Raila Amollo Odinga. This happened during the 2017 elections, and the reasons were very clear, and I understood why Raila Odinga withdrew from the 2017 general elections, even after Chief Justice Emeritus Dr. David Maraga annulled the presidential elections in Kenya, in which Uhuru Kenyatta was a contender, and there was a lot of discrepancy in that election. Secondly, I also failed to understand why, at this particular juncture, even in 2022, the court declared William Ruto, that's okay, that's another story. But at this particular juncture, Raila Odinga withdrew at the sixth round of balloting. That is what I failed to understand. At the sixth round of balloting. In my opinion, it is my considered opinion that if Raila Amollo Odinga had sustained the momentum, no candidate would have gotten the 2/3 majority as stipulated by election rules of the African Union Commission. Clearly, Raila was the favorite. But if he had maintained the momentum and proceeded to the seventh round, Mohammed Yusuf Ali of Djibouti would not have attained the majority that he did. I'm 100% sure. I'm 100% convinced. But because Raila had done what he did, and we love him even more. Something interesting that's coming up also, if you look at the metrics, voting metrics, first round, second round, Raila was leading. I don't know what happened from the third round, the fourth round, the sixth round. That is when things started taking a funny shape. And clearly you can see that there was a lot of undercurrents at hand in this particular case. There was a lot of things going behind at the back, away from the public glare, that influenced the sudden rise in numbers for Mohammed Yusuf Ali, despite the fact that Raila Odinga was leading in the first, second, and probably third round. Raila Odinga was leading. But he withdrew at the sixth round, and we respect that. One day, at his own time, he will tell us why he decided to withdraw, because had Raila Odinga proceeded to the seventh round, no candidate would have had the two-thirds majority. And according to the assembly rules of the African Union Commission, had that been the case, the elections would have been postponed for 1 year. In that case, the current vice chair of the African Union Commission, who was a running mate to Raila Odinga, the lady from Algeria, would have taken over as the temporary chairperson of the African Union Commission for 1 year, until the year 2026, when fresh elections would have been held between the two candidates, strictly between the two candidates, that is Raila Odinga and Mohammed Yusuf Ali of Djibouti. Because those are the rules of procedure for election of chairperson of the African Union Commission. But Raila, in his wisdom, he chose to withdraw at the sixth round. And that's what I'm saying. At the right time, he'll share with us and let us know why he did that. Away from the public glare. Away from the public glare. So even if people are celebrating, some people especially, it's good to be true. Because this channel said we are going to be truthful. Mostly people from Mount Kenya are celebrating. It's okay. That is democracy. That is democracy. And it's good to celebrate. But if I were a leader from Mount Kenya, I would advise those people not to celebrate. Why? Because this is just the beginning of a lot of local politics that is coming, which I'm going to explain in the subsequent engagements. Two, the other major factor that played a big deal in denying Raila Odinga the clear majority victory as was projected is a decision by certain SADC member states. One, to support their own, Mr. Richard from Madagascar. Mr. Richard was actually a spoiler. If you ask me, he was a spoiler. Round 1, he had 10 votes. Round 2, he had 7 votes. Those are votes that if were channeled to Raila Odinga, it would have been clear majority win, round 1. As they had already agreed to do so during the initial stages of campaigns, when Raila Odinga traversed the SADC or Southern African region that comprises the Southern African Development Community countries. If they had agreed and spoken in one voice to consolidate that support and give to Raila Odinga, it would have been round 1 victory, finish. But because SADC countries also had given directives earlier on for them to be able to support their candidate, Mr. Richard from Madagascar, which is a democratic right, which is okay, acted as a spoiler instead. Because if they're given, remember, the total first round was 30 and Raila had 22 in the first round. So if 10 plus 22, that would have been 32 automatically. 32. Only 1 in the second round and it would have been game short. And I think that was the projection that William Ruto, Raila Odinga and the other East African countries had in mind, because it was going to be a round 1 victory for Raila Odinga. But because SADC countries also decided to do their thing, the elections went the way they did, and a lot of hurdles were developed as a result. And the Madagascar, the Djibouti candidate eventually won. I think part of the reason why the Djibouti candidate won, despite not at round 6 not having the clear majority, because he was only ahead of 4 votes. He only had 4 votes ahead of Raila Odinga. He was having 26, Raila was having 24. That is 4 votes. And that's why I'm saying I fail to understand why Raila Odinga did not proceed up to the 7th round. Those are only 4 votes. If Raila Odinga had proceeded to the 7th round, none between the Djiboutian candidate and Raila Odinga would have attained the required mandatory 2/3 majority. Nobody would have attained. But as I said earlier on, at the right time, Raila Odinga will explain to us why he chose to make that decision, and we respect his decision. He knows well why he did that. The SADC countries, I've seen, did their thing. They supported their own, and the elections went the way they did. And remember, many people would have thought that maybe now because Raila Odinga has lost, there's going to be sadness, there's going to be gloom. That is not the case. Remember, even before the elections, Raila Odinga was very categorical and told his supporters that whichever way the elections goes, I think maybe he may have had prior intelligence, I do not know. Whichever way the election goes, Kenya must remain united. His support base must, not shall, not will, must remain united. And those are very strong statements coming from the person of Raila Odinga. United in the sense that as we speak now, sasa ndio ngoma inataka kuanza vizuri Kenya hii. Ngoma siasa inataka kuanza vizuri Kenya hii. Why am I saying so? The third factor, other than the SADC countries, is that African, especially African Anglophone countries and Christian countries, must really call themselves to a meeting. If you look at the history of the African Union, since the days of the Organization of African Unity, for those who are scholars of history and may love history, and those who know the history of Africa a bit, from the days of Organization of African Union, the Secretariat of the AU has been dominated primarily by Francophone and Muslim-speaking peoples of Africa. Christians and Anglophones form a very small minority of the Secretariat of the African Union Commission. That's what I'm saying. Moving forward, Anglophone speaking Africa, Christian Africa must really sit down and do serious reflections if at all they are to have a big say in the management of the continent's affairs. It cannot be that since independence, or when the days when African Union, the Organization of African Union was formed, it's only been Francophones and Muslims dominating the AU. When will Christians dominate the AU? When will Anglophones dominate the AU? If Anglophones are given a strong backing to Raila Odinga as an Anglophone, we'll be talking different things now. The way the Francophones supported one of their own, the way the African Muslims section of Africa, African Muslim population supported one of their own. How I wish Christians could also do this to one of their own when it comes to such serious competitions or such serious elective positions. I repeat again, for the benefit of English-speaking Africa, for the benefit of Christian Africa, unless you do self-reflection, unless you decide to come together for unity of purpose, many activities within the continent, I repeat, for avoidance of doubt, many activities within the continent will be occupied by Francophone-speaking Africa and Muslim Africa. And I say this with a lot of respect to our Muslim brothers and sisters, because it doesn't mean that we are jeopardizing them or spoiling the name of Islam in any way, but we're only saying that it's good to sit down and do serious comparative analysis and look, hey, where does Christian Africa come to, or fit in? Where does Muslim Africa fit in? Because there must be a parallel. There must be a balance where we have room for Anglophone Africa, Christian Africa, and where we also have room for Francophone Africa, Muslim Africa. Now as we speak, remember, and why I'm saying that the African Union Secretariat is dominated by Francophone and Muslims. The chairperson, Mohammed Yusuf from Djibouti, is Muslim. The vice chairperson, Malika Salma from Algeria, is Muslim, is Francophone. The other persons also, a good number if you look at them, are Muslims and Francophone. Only a few, the person among the commissioners from Tanzania, who was elected as a commissioner from Tanzania to represent East Africa, is Christian. The rest are Francophone Muslims. That's what we are saying. Anglophone, go back and do self-reflection. Learn to speak in one voice on matters pertaining to the continent's affairs. But we say this with a lot of respect, because at the end of the day, religion is about accommodating each other and respecting each other. It doesn't mean that because you're Muslim now, you're segregated, no. But you're only saying that Christian Africa, Anglophone Africa, sit down and do a reflection. As I conclude, we saw a lot of people, especially from Murima, celebrating, which is okay. That is a democratic right. It is the democratic right to celebrate, because at the end of the day, that is what competitions are all about. However, if I were a leader from Murima, I would seriously warn my people, even if you're celebrating, don't rub it on people. I tell you the truth. Many people think that this time, Raila supporters are going to jam. Raila supporters are going to make a lot of halabaloo. This is what is going to happen. Look at this post by Robert Alai. You'll appreciate that now is when things are going to give. People, there's a lot of, Raila Odinga is going to offer a lot of support to William Samoei Ruto now as we speak. Because what I know is that this is not the end for Raila Odinga. Remember, and William Ruto, being William Ruto and Africa, and I'm very sure even Mohammed Yusuf from Djibouti is going to create a very big position for Raila Odinga to contribute in growing the continent through the African Union. Because as I told you before, even if Raila Odinga was the one who won, he would have still have given a very big position to his competitor so that he could use his skills and knowledge to help in making Africa a better place to live in and working for each and every one of us as Africans. And I'm very sure that the Djibouti candidate who has won the chairperson elections of the African Union Commission is in equal measure going to consider Raila Amollo Odinga for a very senior, serious position within the AU. So that just like Raila was during his days when he was the High Representative for Infrastructure in Africa at the AU, in equal measure, Raila Odinga is going to be bestowed a very serious position within the AU. I can tell you that for free. As I was saying, if I were a leader from Murima, I would seriously warn my people not to marry and rub it on people. Why? Now, if you look at this post by Robert Alai posted this post and indicated that Raila Odinga is coming to join forces with William Ruto like never before. I think Alai had even posted this before. They're coming to join forces and they're coming to make sure that William Ruto's agenda is pushed forward.